Hey everybody, Dr. Phil here. This is going to be a video discussing strategic planning. So let's go ahead and jump right into it. So the first thing I want to talk about is the importance of strategic planning. So think about strategic strategy. Every company should have a strategy. It's like how do we know that we want to be this, right? But that's not just going to happen, right? We've got to have a way to get from where we are now to where we want to be. So strategic planning is really, kind of addressing that journey of like how do we get to where we are now to where we want to be in the future. As it says, strategic planning can greatly increase the likelihood of success. And a strategic plan is really shaped by an organization's mission. So think about like a company that you like, that maybe you admire. Think about that company will have a mission statement. So what they're doing is they're looking at that mission statement and they're kind of regressing it backwards. They're kind of reverse engineering it back to where they are now to sort of figure out like how would that journey look for us. So the elements of a strategic plan. So there's really four. We got the marketing plan, how we're going to market it. We've got the financial plan, how we're going to get the money, probably the most important. The human resources plan, we've got to have the right people in the right places at the right time. And then we've got to have a risk management plan, which deals with, well, what happens if this starts to, go off the rails, or if it gets derailed? Like, how do we get it back on the rails? So, a mission statement, formally defined, provides a shared sense of ambition, direction, and opportunity. So, the mission statement should be focused on a limited number of goals. You can't be all things to all people, so you want to kind of keep it narrow and succinct. It should be customer oriented and focused on satisfying basic customer needs and wants. And it should capture a shared purpose and provide motivation for employees. So, ideally, maybe idealistically, you want employees there that like really believe in the mission of the company because then you're going to get more buy-in from those employees, and those employees will be more motivated. So, as an example, if we look at Nordstrom, so Nordstrom focuses their marketing and customer service efforts in pursuit of its mission statement to give customers the most compelling shopping experience possible, right? So, you don't go to Nordstrom if you want cheap, right? You don't generally get great deals in Nordstrom, but it's if you've ever been into a Nordstrom, then it's kind of quite the experience. So, they're not saying, "Hey, we want to be cheap, we want to be like cost leader," but we do want to provide a compelling shopping experience. So the marketing plan. So think of a marketing plan as the first thing we would have is, as it says, an executive summary, a very succinct, very to the point, succinct, document that would indicate this is what we're trying to do. This is the plan. As it says, this is also called the elevator pitch. We're also going to do a situational type analysis. We'll look at the market summary. We'll look at a SWOT analysis. I'll talk about SWOT a little bit later in the video. That's just strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats. And then we'll also look at competition analysis. So the marketing strategy, if it's done correctly, can lead to higher profitability, stronger brands, and of course, a larger market share. All good things for a firm. So the financials. So the financials should detail the overall profitability of both the firm and its individual units. So it shouldn't just be this is how much money the firm's making, right? I mean, it will be, but it's broken down by this segment, will make this much, this product will make this much, this geographic region, territory will make this much. There'll be financial projections, which will include this is we sometimes call these pro formas in accounting and finance, a sales forecast, an expense forecast, and then we'll probably also conduct a break-even analysis. And just as a quick aside, a break-even analysis is just basically like at what point do our revenues equal our total expenses? And that way, like we're not making any money, but we're not losing any money. And that's good to know, right? Like we need to sell this many units in order to break even. We got to sell this much to break even. Everything over that is where we're going to start generating profit. Now, as far as controls go, we have to have internal controls that help us implement the plan. Obviously, it's not going to implement itself. We need an organizational structure that is conducive to, again, initiating and implementing the marketing plan. And we should also, a lot of companies maybe don't do this, but we should also do some contingency planning. Well, what happens if somebody leaves the company, one of our key people, one of our key visionaries, for example? What if they leave? What are we going to do? What happens if we don't generate the sales we wanted in year one? We don't have the money to implement year two plans. So these are examples of contingency planning. You could almost think of it like a what if. What if this doesn't happen how we wanted? So market summary sets the stage for situation analysis. So it gives us a perspective on marketplace trends. So McDonald's, for example, might look at the eating habits of two large demographic groups, baby boomers and millennials, to kind of see, okay, what are their current habits? Where are those trending? How do we make sure that we can market to those people? And then the next thing is a BCG. So BCG just stands for Boston Consulting Group Matrix. And it's really broken down into four areas. As you can see, the stars, the cash cows, the question marks, and the dogs. So here we can kind of see all four of them. So you notice on the left here, we've got on the y-axis, we've got market growth, low at the bottom, high at the top. And then we've got relative market share, low versus high. So the stars obviously have high growth, high market share. So like an Apple Watch would be a good example. The cash cows are the ones that have low market growth, but they have a high market share. So like the Apple iPod, good example. The dogs have a low market growth and low market share. So like CDs, compact discs. A lot of you may not even remember those. I guess I'm dating myself by telling you that. And then question marks would be like the new iPhone app. So low market share, but it may have the potential for high market. It's got high market growth, but it's right now it's got a low market share. Hopefully we can move it over to one of the stars. So a SWOT analysis, you heard me mention that just a little earlier. SWOT is strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats. And obviously the strengths and weaknesses are internal to the company. What are our strengths? What are our weaknesses? And the external environment speaks to what are our opportunities and what are our threats. So just some examples for you. So strengths could be, again, remember these are internal. Strengths could be we have strong brand recognition, right? We have long-term profitability and franchise system. We have a good reputation for serving breakfast. That could be one as well. Weaknesses could be, and again, remember these are internal. Weaknesses could be difficulty finding and retaining quality employees. A traditional menu filled with high calorie items as people start to become more health conscious, and possibly longer wait times. What about the external considerations? So again, think about outside the company now. So opportunities could be international expansion, going overseas, the menu or service expansions, and public interest in ethical and sustainable business practices. So if that's something that we're doing, then that might be an opportunity for us. Threats could be a weak economy that cuts dining out budgets, increasing production costs, and the health consciousness, as I alluded to a second ago, a little earlier, of the US population. So basic tools and techniques of marketing strategy. So segmentation, target markets, and positioning. So market segmentation basically divides a large market into market segments. So if we look at, say, McDonald's, right? McDonald's it's not just like one big market. They've got like one of their segments is adults, one is teenagers, and then one is families with small children. So that's their example of segmentation. They've segmented it into three, right? Adults, teenagers, and families with small children. And then positioning activities. So Ford marketers position the Fusion as a more stylish, youthful hybrid car than competitors like the Toyota Camry hybrid. So again, stylish and youthful. So you obviously their target market there, they've segmented that down into sort of the younger population. The strategic direction. So market penetration. So one example would be Pizza Hut trying to get existing consumers to buy one more pizza each month. Product development could be Dr. Pepper, 10, a 10-calorie soft drink. Obviously, regular Dr. Pepper is very high in sugar. So they're like, oh, there are people that drink that, but there are people that want a lower calorie option, hence the Dr. Pepper 10. And then market development could be, globalization moving overseas. And then diversification would be, so like Disney owns ABC and ESPN. Right, so you maybe didn't realize that. Another example of diversification, a very good example would be General Electric, who, make light bulbs. They used to make incandescent, they make LED, they make jet engines, right? They make kitchen appliances, the list goes on and on. So the marketing mix, so includes the good or service itself and any related services like warranties and guarantees. So sustainable competitive advantage, of course, is the goal. We want a competitive advantage, but we want to keep it going over time. We need the ability to provide a combination of goods, services, and ideas. So the promotion details how the firm will communicate the value of its product, like how are you going to promote the product, hence the name promotion. So McDonald's might plan to increase advertising spends on, say, filet-o-fish sandwiches during Lent. That would be one good example. Now, distribution or the place describes where and when the firm will deliver value to its customers. So, for example, going back to the McDonald's example, McDonald's offering breakfast all day, but allowing franchises to make decisions on what items. So, giving that like that's like a local decision that the franchises can make relative to their markets. And pricing specifies how much money customers must pay for the product and explains why the firm selected that price. So McDonald's marketers believe that keeping price increases small was essential to keeping customer volume up, which makes sense. People don't like big jumps in price, right? So McDonald's strategic decision. So McDonald's made the strategic decision in 2015, so almost a decade ago now, to shift toward using only cage-free eggs. Now the company faces a distribution challenge because fewer than 10% of the nation's laying hens were categorized as cage-free at the time. So it could take McDonald's up to 10 years to hit that 100% cage-free goal. All right, 5 major strategic options. So these are some things that companies can do. The first one speaks to international exporting. So this is often the least risky option for entering international markets. So you keep producing it here domestically, you just ship it overseas. Licensing, this can help overcome barriers because the licensee is typically locally owned and also brings unique insight about its customers. So one example would be Major League Baseball. This can be a riskier option than exporting, but it's still cheaper than, actually setting up operations overseas. So franchising is attractive because of the division of responsibility. If you own a franchise, obviously, yeah, there's a lot of things you don't have control over. You've got to use the company logo, signage, for example, but you do have, it's certainly a cheaper way to start a business. Joint ventures often work best when strategic goals align, competitive goals diverge, and they learn from each other without infringing on each other's propriety skills. So yeah, joint ventures have become probably a little more popular in the last couple of decades. And of course, direct ownership is the riskiest strategy. So for example, Target liquidating all stores in Canada due to a lack of success. Target obviously thought it was a good idea to move into Canada, into the Canadian market. Didn't work out for them, so they had to liquidate all those stores. And then marketing analytics is used to maximize marketing effectiveness and optimize what we call ROI, or return on investment. Now, return on marketing investment, ROMI, is just simply sales multiplied by the gross margin percentage, take out the marketing expenditures, so minus those, and then divide it by marketing expenditures. And then we can also look at revenue analysis, which measures and evaluates revenue from specific products or regions. It pinpoints what is working and what is not relative to the objectives of the organization. And then marketing analytics. So again, market share analysis. We consider the market share data relative to revenue and profitability. We're typically going to show that, you don't have to, but you could typically show that using a pie graph. That's a pretty good way to do it. And then finally, profitability analysis. Customer acquisition measures how much the firm spent to gain new customers. Obviously, you know the old saying, it takes money to make money, per the old adage. And individual customer profitability is the profit a firm makes from a customer over a specified period of time. Now, there's other types of analysis we could go into. Obviously, this list isn't exhaustive. These are just some that I at least wanted to introduce you to. So, when you go out into the world of work, you may already be, every company has different ideas as to what do we want to analyze? You can't analyze everything. You've ultimately got to come up with sort of a few key metrics that you say, okay, yeah, for us to be successful, like this, and this, and maybe this and this are important, and that's what we should focus on. All right, as always, thanks for watching, and I will see you in a future video.